Ooh, that is damp. Never mind, who doesn't love a damp log to sit on? Hey guys, how's it going? This is my first Q&A video. I am so excited. This has been a long time coming. I'm here just outside my local woodlands. You can hear the crows doing their thing. And we've got this wonderful meadow behind me. This is quite a popular spot this time of day, she says, looking at her invisible watch. So there might be some people walking past, but that's all right. If they're interested, they can just come on in the video and talk about why they're outside, which is effectively what I'm going to be doing today. So I'm going to be answering some of your guys' questions. I get a lot of questions every single day on here, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, through emails, through Messenger, just lots of questions, and I love it. As much as possible, I try and answer people's questions. I set a couple of hours, or a bit more, aside each week to answer as many questions as I possibly can. So thank you if you have asked a question. Hopefully I've got back to you. If not, I'm on it. So what I wanted to do today specifically was take some questions off of a Facebook post I put up. So that's just all I'm going to focus on today. I'm hoping this will be about half an hour, maybe a little bit longer. I don't want to restrict it. I actually just want to talk freely. I haven't planned this. As with all of my videos, it's just going to come out of my mouth and hopefully it's okay. So what I would suggest is you might want to do what I do when I'm listening to videos, is actually just crack on with something else whilst you have this on in the background. Just listen to me rabbit on about stuff. However, if you do want to watch this whole video, then good on you. I am going to put some blue reels, so some extra footage on top of stuff that's relevant, and hopefully that'll keep you suitably entertained until the end of the video. So I think without further ado, let's get started. So these are Facebook questions. If you don't follow me on Facebook, I strongly recommend you do if you have a Facebook account. Even if you don't use Facebook, it's the best way to stay up to date with what I do. Obviously you get these weekly videos on YouTube, but you don't really find out about my day-to-day life, or guided walks and events and stuff that you can be involved with. There's a lot going on Facebook. It's the best way to follow it. Twitter, I'll own the fact that I'm useless at. That's a nice wren. It's a nice blackbird. Gosh, it's all going on. And Instagram, follow me on Instagram as well. It's kind of a watered down version of Facebook. So I try to keep up with social media, but I'm not the biggest fan of it other than Facebook, which I do my best at. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So question 1, Zoe. Hello, Zoe. Zoe has asked, did you grow up hiking? Yes, I did. Well, no, because at one point I couldn't walk. When I could not walk, because I was small and I had no muscles in my legs, I was carried on my parents' back up and down mountains. And I know this because we have photos of me generally looking cold and squished in this backpack thing. So then as soon as I could walk, yes, I was, we went to the Lake District pretty much every year, to Yorkshire every year. I grew up and still live in Somerset, so we've got the South West Coast Path, Corntock Hills, Exmoor, Dartmoor, Cornwall, Brecon Beacons. It's all really accessible. So yes, I grew up hiking. I hiked a lot and I still do. In fact, I hike more now than I ever have done, I think, and I love it. So that's a cool question. Thank you, Zoe. Hopefully I've answered that okay. Jack has asked, hello Jack, thank you for your question. At what point did you fall in love with backpacking and generally getting out there? Ooh, at what point? I don't think there's a specific point that I fell in love with backpacking. So when we're talking about backpacking, I'm talking about multi-day long distance hiking. But the first trail I did was in 2012, so I was 16. And that was the West Highland Way. It was really wet. There were loads of midges and I hurt my back. So I think most of the time I was in survival mode. But what I did pick up from that experience was generally thriving on the experience of walking day after day after day and being as self-sufficient as possible with everything I needed on my back. So I think that was kind of one of the pivotal experiences for me falling in love with backpacking. But also what's just come into my mind is, I can't remember what year it was. I'm thinking 2014 or 15, in October, so a few years ago this month then, I walked around the Isle of Wight. So I just went across myself, and I think that was my first solo backpacking experience. Gosh, the crows are loud. I think it was, and actually I really enjoyed that. So that was the first thing I sort of planned myself and I just went out and did. So I would say that was quite a pivotal experience as well. But it's important for me to highlight every single time I hit the trail, I kind of fall in love with the experience again. It can sometimes take a while to warm up to the fact that all I have to do is walk every single day, and I'm generally not very connected to people. I'm on my own. I'm walking through quite physically demanding landscapes. So I love it. That's all there is to say. So there's no specific moment, so I like that question. But I've always loved being outside. Ever since I could move, I've just every single day been outside, delving into the natural world, finding out things about different plants and animals, and it's just grown and grown over time. It's evolved a lot, and I just wish I knew more. Like, I just want to like soak up all the information. It's amazing. So thank you for that question. Sam has asked, tips on lacing your boots up properly. Now that's quite a cool question, and I don't know if that's supposed to be a legit question, but I have a legit answer. So most people, when they tie their boots, then they get their laces and they put them in the eyelets. So they start with the bottom one, then the top one, and then they tie a bow, and then they tie another bow. So that's how the kind of standard way of tying your boots. However, what I tend to do is kind of a mountaineering technique. So when you have really cold hands or you've got lots of gloves on, you really don't want your laces coming undone. So what we do is just tie them, kind of pull them all nice and tight, all of the laces, and then hook them around the top eyelets and then the bottom ones by reversing them, so they're kind of hooked on backwards. And then with your first knot, so overhand knot, thread the lace round twice and then pull it tight so it locks in place a little bit more, then tie a bow and then tie another bow. So that's how I do my laces. They very rarely come undone, and it works for me. So that's some tips. It's just randomly got really dark. Sorry about this. The sun has given up on me. So thank you, Sam, for that question. Franklin has asked, what hat do you wear? It seems all the time. I wear this hat. This is my hat. I've worn this hat for a good 10 plus years. How old am I? Yeah, definitely 10 plus years. This hat in itself deserves its own video. Actually, it's got quite an intense story behind it. But the long and short of it is I chose to start wearing it as confirmation of my identity. I was really struggling as a young person to know, well, I still am a young person, but as a younger person, as a teenager, kind of how I fit in to the social circle, because I didn't. So eventually I decided to side with my love of the natural world, to not shut it away and pretend to be someone else. So I've worn this hat ever since, and nowadays I just wear it without thinking about it. But it's quite nice to kind of look back at why I wear this hat as a statement almost. And sometimes it does, you know, I realise that like I walk into social situations, I don't know, like meetings or posh meals, which I hate, just gonna put that out there. And I'll be wearing my hat and I'm like, should I be wearing my hat right now? But like, I can't not, you know, this is attached, it's not, but this is part of me. So I love my hat, simple as that. And if I'm not wearing this hat because it's super cold, I'll be wearing my 66 degree North Iceland hat, which I got from Iceland, which is my favoritist country. So there we go, other than this country. Come on, son, come back. We need you. Okay, so thank you for that question. Kevin Rainsford. This is a cool guy. All right, so Kevin is, he's based in the States. I know this guy. He's a legend. He's a filmmaker and photographer, an incredible photographer. And especially when it comes to night sky stuff. One of his films, I think, is called Lament the Milky Way, which is kind of the Milky Way's perspective on light pollution. It's a fantastic piece of work. It's really eye-opening, actually. I'll put a link below, but do check this guy out. He's a legend. Anyway, so Kevin has asked me, what's he asked me? I've lost it. Oh, here we go. Have you ever thought about flying across the pond and exploring some of the amazing trails here in the States? Yes, I have. I've thought about it a lot. Specifically, the Pacific Crest Trail and the Appalachian Trail and the Continental Divide Trail, actually. I like all these trails. I like the idea of doing them all. Excuse me. It's just not necessarily financially possible at the moment, nor in terms of time. So I'm trying to tick off more local, as in like Europe, trails first of all, and then hopefully head out there. But they are in the book, which means they're official. So yes, I have, just not at the moment. I would really like to. And if I was going to start on one, I think I'd like to start with the Appalachian Trail. I love the Pacific Crest Trail and I know a lot about it, but I think part of my love has gone since the film Wild was made, because I know how heavily used it is now. And actually part of what I love about being on the trail is the quiet time, the space, being on my own. So I don't know. I mean, I've never been to the States actually, so I don't really know perhaps what it's like there on the trail, but I'm just assuming it gets quite busy. So that's some thoughts on that. So thank you for that, Kevin. Ollie has asked, how and when did you start walking? Another question, did you go to university or have a career path upon finishing school? Okay, so, oh, phone's locked up. So the first question was, I've lost it. How and when did you start walking? So I kind of answered that. I started walking when I learnt to walk, and then it's just kind of grown since then. So, but the long distance backpacking, as I say, 2012, and then since 2016 I've just been going off and doing loads of trails each year, so that's kind of when. And the other question was, did you go to university or have a career path upon finishing school? So I did not go to university. So I finished school, when was that, 2012? I went to 5 or 6 different schools, and I really struggled with schools because I was bullied so badly. I could not cope with being inside all the time. Didn't really have any social circles I truly felt safe in, and as I mentioned, there was so much bullying, it was just terrible. So I was really glad when school finished. Then I went to college, and that was a whole different story. I loved my studying experience at college. I really got on with the educators, what they called, teachers, there we go, the teachers. So they were great. I studied at A-levels, so A-levels in geography, archaeology, biology and environmental science, and I did a, what are they called? Like an extra writing thing. But it's just gone from me. It's kind of like half a dissertation. It'll come to me at some point. EPQ, there we go, extended project qualification in, or answering the question of, should we reintroduce large predators to the UK? So I was talking about wolves, bears and lynx. So I did that. I loved those subjects, and then I left college, sad times, and I applied for university for 3 years in a row, got all my places, denied all of them, and then I started studying with the Open University with a degree in geography and environmental science, but I've only done half a year, and I've deferred for another 2 years, mostly because of my health, and because of my health I've not had the time to study basically, but also my interest has changed over the years. So I am a passionate, my root is environmental conservation, that's my heart passion, but I have so many interests, like archaeology is a huge passion of mine, lifestyle medicine and nutrition is a huge passion of mine. Basically, if you ever see me, and I'm not kind of on camera or teaching or whatever, I will be plugged into some podcast on nutrition, or like mental health, or I'll have my nose in a book. I'm just obsessed with nutrition actually, so I think I'd quite like to study that. I'm not really sure what I'd like to do with my degree at the moment. I don't want to force myself to do it. Obviously, I'm not necessarily well enough at the moment, but when I've improved my state of health, then I would like to study more, but I just don't know what yet. So that's just a little bit of insight into that. I could talk more about that, but I think we'll leave it there. So thank you for those questions, Ollie. Andy has asked, what's your job? Cool question. So this is my job. I am a filmmaker. So I'm a commercial filmmaker. I make films for businesses, organizations, usually small businesses, events, usually as promotional films then for their websites. I also do website design. So that's kind of that aspect of what I do. Then also I do this. So I make these films, I make my adventure films and stuff, put them on YouTube. And then the other part of what I do, 3 days a week, I am a personal trainer and a fitness instructor. So I teach exercise classes, spinning, boxercise, sometimes got running clubs going on, and I help people. I try to empower people to take control of their physical health. So that's what I do. That's my job. I love it. Yeah, great. So that's a cool question. Thank you. So Angie has asked, you seem to meet so many interesting people on your travels. Who was your favourite and why? Ooh, that's the first kind of tricky question. I think the first person that comes to mind is a lady called Anne, who I met on the Coast to Coast this year. She was doing the Cleveland Way, and the trails overlap for a little bit in Yorkshire. And she's just incredible, actually. She's walked nearly every trail in the UK solo. She just kind of goes off and does them, and she's hugely inspirational to me. We chatted and just hung out most of the day, and then we met up at the end of the trail, and we're still in touch now. So I think, yeah, she's just really, really cool. If you know the Cape Raft Trail, it's one of the most remote trails in the UK. There's like, you know, you've got to do a lot of navigation. It's tough stuff. That was her first trail. So that just gives you some idea of what this lady is made up with. She's cool. So I guess she's probably, off the top of my head, one of the most interesting people I've met recently. So that's a cool question. Shirley has asked, how many camera batteries do you take on a day's filming? It just depends on what the day looks like. Usually I'll just grab a handful. So for my GoPro, maybe like 5 batteries. For this one, just always got the standard 4. Never need them all on a day, but I've got them. And then I film on my phone. So that's it for a day. Not the most precise answer. Sorry about that. Excuse me. Okay, so thank you for that question. Stephen has asked, why when I watch you on YouTube do I always feel a lot happier? Oh, that's a nice question that I don't know the answer to. I don't know, but thank you for watching me on YouTube. I always try to, in my films, be the most authentic and genuine version of myself. There is no pretending here. This is me. Like, I'm quite happy today, as you can see. I'm quite bubbly, I'm talking a lot, hence why I'm making this film today. So I think what I like that to do is allow or give people permission to be themselves, whatever that looks like. And I think that sets some people free. What I really love is hearing about how my videos have inspired you guys to get outside, because that's what this is about. It's about getting outside. It doesn't have to be a crazy, epic, mountainous adventure. It's just about stepping out into the natural world and allowing it to feed you and grow you and inspire you. And that's what I'm all about. So thank you for watching my videos, and thank you for that question, Stephen. I'm so glad it makes you smile. So cool. Okay, next question. We're getting there with this. Trina has asked, she's got a couple of questions here. Do you edit your videos on the trail or after you return home? So stuff that goes on YouTube, I always edit when I return home. Nothing's ever edited on the trail. What's your camera setup? So I briefly mentioned this. I film on my phone, no denial there. This is just a Samsung A3, maybe, don't know. Then I also film on my Canon 70D. So this is my DSLR that I film with on long distance trails. So the microphone on this is the VideoMic Pro, which I've got this homemade windsock thing, which is called the Hamster, on top of it. And then I also film on a GoPro Hero 3 Plus Silver. I have been looking to upgrade my GoPro for a very long time because it keeps producing corrupt files, which is an endless nightmare. But I've had 2 GoPro Hero 6s and 3 GoPro Hero 5s. Every single one has been coming with errors, so I keep either losing footage, or the sound doesn't match the video, or there's a hiss or something. So I'm still working on that, but at the moment that's my setup. So GoPro 3, Canon DSLR, and of course my phone. So that's that question. And then how do you get your info on an area you share during your videos? Is it purely through research or through locals, etc.? That's a cool question, actually. So I research, usually I know that I'm going on a walk, because I have my camera gear, so it's a planned event. I never script stuff in advance, it's always just made up as I go, but I do research things in advance, so I will just take information offline or through guidebooks that I read, or sometimes, yeah, what people tell me, actually. So it's true, like if I meet a local and they tell me, oh, did you know that church was built in, excuse me, like the 16th century? So I'll be like, oh cool, I'm just gonna tell the camera that. So yeah, pretty much everywhere. And sometimes when I'm even on the trail, I'll be doing research on my phone behind camera, just to make sure I've got plenty to say. So that's a good question. Michael has asked 6 questions. What a legend, he's made the most of this. Okay, so let's answer these one at a time. It's really actually getting quite dark. I don't know how long I've been talking for. Okay, so first question then. How do you get over the fear of being out on your own, especially when it comes to wild camping? That's an interesting question. I do get asked this quite a lot, or similar questions. Firstly, fear is a liar. Most of the time, actually. Fear is quite a natural thing to feel. I don't think we should fear feeling fear, but I think we shouldn't let it control us. I think it needs to come from a rational place. I'm a big believer in gut feelings. So if I feel in my gut that actually this is not a good idea to pitch up here, I won't. I genuinely will not. I will listen to that instinctive feeling that I have. I'll be wary of, you know, how I communicate to people, telling them where I'm going to be camping. I'll also make sure, you know, friends or whoever know that I'm going to be out at this time and I'll be back roughly on this day at some point, and try and make contact with people as much as I can. So I think it's just kind of like stepping into it bit by bit. You don't have to jump all in unless that's kind of your thing. But it is just being sensible. It's trusting your gut feeling and making sure, you know, people know where you are. And for me, if I'm camping anywhere near civilization, generally I'm way more wary than if I'm in nature. I know and recognize all of the natural sounds, and trust me, there's some really weird sounds in nature, especially at night. Like a vixen foxes screaming. It's literally like someone being murdered. It's horrible. So, but I know that sound. However, if there's a sound I don't recognize, I genuinely can be quite honest and say it's probably a person, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That makes me uncomfortable. So I do feel fear sometimes, but I try to react to it with my wise mind. So that answers that a little bit. Second question, what is on your must-take list? Well, I guess if you've watched any of my packing videos, you'll see I pretty much carry the same thing every single time I go out on the trail. So let's not talk about the standard sort of tent sleeping bag stuff. Let's talk about something else. What could be my 3 must-have sort of luxury items? I would say first one is my MP3 player / earphones. I don't necessarily need the MP3 player, I just need the earphones. So I've mentioned briefly I struggle with mental health issues. I haven't necessarily talked about them openly, don't need to, but sometimes what I do struggle with is overwhelm, sensual overwhelm, and then that causes a huge disconnection where I'm not actually in my body, I'm just looking at myself, and it's horrible. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll put my earphones in just to shut out a sense, so my sound. Usually I need to see where I'm going. So that helps to calm me down a little bit. So my earphones are invaluable in helping me do that. Also, at night, if I'm on a campsite, there's usually a bunch of teenagers doing DV who would just forget that nylon isn't soundproof and just talk all night. So they can also be really helpful for that. So earphones. Second thing, I guess my knife. I have a little Opnel knife. I like to carry that on me. Not as a weapon at all, but because I really like whittling stuff as I go along. I like to do little depictions of the trail on sticks that I pick up, or just make a spike on the end of a stick to make a walking pole, all sorts of things. I just quite like having a knife on me. And then the third thing, you know what, I'm just going to go out there. Latte sachets. Yeah, I like to carry latte sachets, sachet, for the longer days on the trail. So if I have a day on the trail that's over 20 odd miles, I will pack myself a latte sachet as a reward, because there's nothing nicer than getting in your tent and having a good hot cup of coffee that's got lots of milk in it and it's frothy. Oh man, just like imagining it right now. So yeah, latte sachets, that is a must in my world for a long day. Okay, let's just move on from that quite swiftly. Have you or do you suffer with sore feet? I do not suffer with sore feet. I guess we're talking about blisters here. I have obviously had blisters in the past, but I have not had a single blister this year because I've really been on it with my foot care. However, completely different situation in 2016. Did the Yorkshire Wolds Way. It rained the entire time and then it snowed for extra measure. And my feet were just saturated, like rotting on the edge of my legs. And yeah, they were sore. Let's just put it like that. But I don't have sore feet now, so there we go. Next question. Question 4. To use hiking poles or not? I would say hiking poles are personal preference. I think it's really important to know how to use them in terms of how to loop your hand through the loop and hold them. Also in terms of how to distribute your weight, because I think they can actually be quite detrimental if you don't know how to use them. Specifically in the mountains, actually, there's there's a neat way to walk in the mountains where your core is engaged, you know, you're using your center of gravity, you're balanced, and it makes you more agile. And I think a lot of people lean on their sticks too much, which takes away that agility. Therefore, they're tenser, they're more cautious. If a slip happens, they're much more likely to damage something. So I think poles can be fantastic if you know how to use them correctly. So that's quite a cool question, actually. Have you ever thought about doing the Appalachian Trail in the US? So kind of answered that. Yes, I have, but not at the moment. And his final question. If you were allowed to walk one more walk, which would it be? Oh my gosh. That just brings up a little bit of panic in me. One more walk? That's not possible. Not happening. I really like the West Highland Way, but I guess since I've done it twice, I know what I would do. Oh, I'm proud of my answer. What I would do is I would make a trail that adds up every single trail in the world, and that would be my last trail. Oh yes, didn't expect that now, did you? That is what I would do, genuinely. One more trail. It counts, right? Doesn't matter how long it is. So if it was one more in the UK, I would do the same thing with all of the UK trails. There we go. It's not a proper answer, but it is proper. Maybe I should do that sometime. Anyway, right, back to the point. Ian Park has asked, you have said sometimes you listen to music when you walk. What is on your playlist? Do you have certain tunes for specific situations? My wife used to hum the Indiana Jones theme tune to herself when she needed to be intrepid. That's quite cool, actually. Music. I listen to anything and everything. I listen to kind of indie folk, chill step. I listen to podcasts. I listen to sort of Christian worship. I listen to kind of got my like gym playlist. All sorts of stuff, actually. More sort of instrumental stuff, quite like oriental instruments. I'm not like a heavy rock kind of person. I like meaningful pieces of music. Lyrics are quite important to me, actually. So yeah, kind of everything and anything and everything. There isn't necessarily go-to playlists. It just depends on how I'm feeling, really. So that kind of answers that a little bit. But as I say, sometimes I'm not actually listening to music anyway with my earphones in. His next question is, how many pairs of boots/shoes do you have, and how do you determine which to wear on any given walk? I own 3 pairs of walking boots. Let's just focus on boots today. I have my Scarpa R Eva Pro, which are my sort of winter boots, which I use in the mountains. I can put crampons on them if I need to. I have a pair of high-tech leather boots that were given to me by High-Tech, which are really nice, and I use those for kind of local walks. And then I have some Salomon synthetic fabric boots that I use on day walks, or usually if I'm backpacking and it's not crazy mountainous. So they're kind of my 3 pairs, and that kind of explains how and when I would use those. So hopefully that helps a little bit with that. And he said, do you switch to 4-season/crampon compatible for winter? And if so, what determines if you change over? So basically, I will use my Scarpa boots if I'm going above the snow line and I need crampons, or if I'm in like really mountainous terrains. If you've seen any of my Lake District videos, I was wearing them then, just because it's quite rocky underfoot. It's got that thicker sole that takes the weight and means the rocks don't hurt. So that's that. So thank you, Ian, for those questions. And actually the last question, here we go. So Carl has asked, what did your parents do to get you interested in the outdoor life? I guess they took me outside. The outdoors is what inspired me. I just had to be able to access it, and they helped me to do that. So I'm thankful for them for doing that, to taking me to wild places, helping me fall in love with the Lake District and all of these natural places. But actually, you know, since becoming more independent, I've just gone off and explored more. Part of what I struggle with my mental health is I can't remember stuff. And that's why filming is amazing, because I get to relive my experiences when perhaps I wasn't wholly present in the actual experience. So a lot of my childhood and, you know, young adult life I don't remember, which is horrible in a way. But, you know, we've got so many photos and videos of us as kids. We really did go to so many incredible places, and I had the most adventurous childhood that I'm so thankful for. But it's just kind of escalated to a whole nother level now, and I love it. So I guess that's what they did. They made the outdoors accessible, and I kind of just found my place in it from a really early age, which is wonderful, because now it means that I have no fear coming out here. This is my safe place. Whether it's dark or daytime or winter or summer, I know how to thrive and look after myself in the natural environment. You know, my dad and I, we did traditional archery together. My mum and I, she's the one that took me backpacking. And now, as I say, I do most of the stuff on my own, and I'm happy with that. But, you know, as I say, they made it accessible, which is great. So that's it. That's the questions for today. So I don't know how long I've talked for. I'll find that out when I edit this. So if you stuck with this, well done for making it to the end. It is considerably darker than when I started, which is an interesting sign to me that time has gone by. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you if you're someone who asked a question. That was awesome. It was really nice just sharing some of that information with you and exploring things a little bit more. If you have any more questions, please do drop me a message. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Comment below. I'll get back to you as quickly as I humanly possibly can. What I would just like to say is, if you'd like to support me with this, spend more time in the wild production stuff, then you can access a donation page on my website. Any donation, small, medium or large, will always go towards the production, pre-post, the shooting of these videos. It just helps me to keep getting outside, keep finding time to make these videos, explore wilder places, to run more guided walks. I'm looking at so many new and exciting things for next year. I'm literally like bursting to tell you right now, but I'm trying to just rein it in, and we'll talk about that later. But I would so wholeheartedly appreciate anything you could give towards my filming work. And thank you if you already do. You know, you guys are on my radar as being true members of the tribe, and it's just amazing to be journeying with you. So thank you, as I say, for watching this video, for sticking with it. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the cuts as well that I put on top. And guys, until next time, enjoy your adventures and stay wild.